Hey, what's going on, everybody? Merry Christmas and welcome over to the DFS 5-pack to talk a little NBA for our 5-game Christmas Day slate. We're here to cover it. We're here to talk about it. Nice start to the NBA season, so let's continue the hot streak.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to talk this one out with you. When you get these slates with some of the best teams in the league, actually all the best teams in the league, really, there's going to be a lot of really good plays. And that's what we have here. So if you like someone that we don't bring up, do your thing.
Yeah, there's obviously, again, they do that on purpose, right? They put the best players in the league. So we got Kawhi, Paul George, LeBron, AD, Giannis, Jason Tatum, Luka, KD, Steph. We are loaded with great players this game.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, guys. So, again, mentioned it, nice start to the season. I know cash games have gone 2-0 to start the year. Other than like Kobe White yesterday, pretty much everybody we liked did a nice game. We got some customers already with GPP takedowns, which is fantastic. I think your pivot down last night, like the hard recommend everybody play Morant over Luka in GPPs was, very, very good play. Morant had a very good game and then finished it on a tear. So he went from good to great, just a nice start to the season. So let's try to keep it rolling this year, fellas.
Yeah, no doubt. It's disappointing that of my three big hard recommends, Morant, Gobert, and Drummond was easily the worst. One thing I've noticed, he's not playing big spurts. Like he's a guy that seems to be playing and resting in much shorter spurts, which hurt him yesterday.
And that is something that, has happened to some players in the beginning of the year. I did think he'd play a few more minutes than he did. I didn't think he'd play like 38, but I thought we'd get closer to 30 than 25.
Like, when he first got pulled because he got 2 fouls, like maybe they were planning to pull him then anyways, it seemed, because he kept getting, pulled a couple of minutes earlier than the other starters. It seemed his rotation just was different.
Yeah, man, I encourage everybody to look at rotations. I had every box score being monitored on a minute-by-minute basis last night. I've gone back and looked at every single game. There's a lot of edge you can get by seeing what coaches are doing early. Some guys are ready to roll, and you saw them playing bigger minutes than you expected already. Other guys are going to ease into the year. Now, some of that we're going to be guessing on, but you can get ahead of the crowd by really monitoring how the coaches are playing their guys early on this year.
And, even if we are guessing, you can take better guesses. You can guesstimate better.
I remember one of my high school science teachers would use the term hypothesize. Have a hypothesis. Have an educated guess to why you believe something, not just thinking like, oh, I like Drummond next time in game 2. He's going to go up to 40 minutes. Like, no, he's probably not.
Agreed.
All right, guys. So check out our boys over at overlaydfs.com. Just got an email from them. Reply to it for your Christmas gift. Probably get a few dollars thrown into your account if you've been a member. If you haven't started playing yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. If it's one of those things that your family's going to keep you busy, but you want to get some skin on the game during Christmas, go give them a little look-see. You can play things a lot easier and quicker over there than you are trying to compete with the big boys on DK.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Okay. We brought this up yesterday. The 5-pack promotion to start the year has been a $45 discount on the NBA package, which will retail for $120. I'm guessing we'll be there today or tomorrow. There are 3 spots left at the discounted price of $75. The website link is below. You can now use the website. It is a one-time payment. It covers the full year. This will be gone before you know it. So if you're catching this video and you want to take advantage, now's the time to do it.
Mm-hmm. No doubt about it.
Again, day passes are up as well. It's a simple $5 payment for the full day. Subscribe to the station if you're new to it. And I want to say thank you for all of you guys that have done this the first 2 days. The YouTube algorithm rewards us when people make comments or click the thumbs up button. So had a lot of likes the first 2 days. Sincerely appreciated from us to you guys if you can keep it rolling. Again, in the Christmas spirit or whatever you want to call it, thank you very much for that. But let's continue to pound this stuff out, my man.
Yeah, if you're watching this, just give us a thumbs up. We appreciate it, like you said. So I'm excited to break this one down with you.
Yeah, man, let's get into this. If you're new or back to the station this year, just to reiterate, the format's slightly different. We've gone from 4 to 5 picks on the main video. It's a cash game lock, GPP lock, a mutual favorite, long shot of the day, long shot of the day.
Yeah, I feel like we always should have been doing this, but, times change.
Probably. So cash game lock for me to start my lineups on Christmas Day is going to be Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics. Look, I put him in the cash game right up last night as one of the 12 guys I liked. You had him in the GPP write up yesterday as like one of like the 12 guys that you were really going to kind of build your lineups around. So I feel like we both featured him, but didn't go hard enough on him. Am I correct in saying the same thing for you?
You're only incorrect in saying I wouldn't even put enough on there because I didn't even use him, unfortunately.
Okay, I used him in 1 of 3, and he was in a couple of my cash game builds, and I just didn't get to him.
Same.
Cash still won, so it's no big deal, but because all you have to do is get in the top half. But like, I regret not having more of Jaylen Brown, who was nothing short of being fantastic. And I'll quote what I said on the members only video. I firmly believe until Kemba Walker comes back, Jaylen Brown's like an $8,500 player. This is not a scenario anymore where you got Kemba, Hayward, Tatum, Brown, and Smart. They are down to 3 players. And now that Tatum has emerged as one of the better players in the NBA, Brown's kind of the second banana, but he's also priced that way at only $7K. This dude went for 53 DK point nights in the opener against Milwaukee. And even though he shot it well, going 13 to 24 from the floor, that's not like a crazy percentage you can't replicate. And I'm highly encouraged by the 24 shots. Tatum and Brown combined for literally 50% of the Boston Celtics shot in game 1. Now they have a very similar matchup against the Brooklyn Nets team. I am not scared of the Nets defense. If you saw them hold down Golden State game 1, that was more bad Golden State than it was great Nets defense. Kelly Oubre and Andrew Wiggins legitimately just missed wide open threes all game long. I expect this to be a good game. I expect it to be competitive. I think you think Boston wins this game. I don't know who I think wins, but I think it's going to be close. And I love Jaylen Brown in all formats.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that, man, he just looks good here. He's too cheap for what the current production is. We saw it last night. I know I liked him a lot. Unfortunately, didn't use him. Never thought that he would score like 30 more DK points than Kobe White, but it happens. You got to dust it off and move on. Brush it off, excuse me. Man, just a lot to like here. And you talked about Brooklyn and just how they're going to be really good this year, especially from the offensive end. But defensively, they're not like a team you're scared to pick on, especially with how well they're going to score. You might see their defense lack a little bit just because of how well they can score. Jaylen Brown's a guy I've liked for a long time. He can really do it all. This is a great time for him to shine, like you said, with Kemba out, no Gordon Hayward, which I think people like kind of underrate, the impact that Hayward had. He's a guy that was featured, has the ball in his hands a lot. You saw it last night in Charlotte. So it's a year I think Brown kind of takes the next step.
He's a good player. And now outside of him and Tatum, and we're going to bring up another Celtics guy on here, though, but like they don't have a lot of guys that can create offense. There's a reason that him and Tatum took half the shots last night. Like, I know you're a Tristan Thompson fan. He ain't much offensively. Thies. Even the other Celtic we're going to bring up, he's not exactly like an elite scorer or anything like that. So, I mean, Brown's got to put in work, and so does Tatum, but he's like way less money than Tatum.
Agreed.
All right, so next up, we're going to move over to one of your favorite GPP plays of the day. Me, as the Bucks nerd and the stats nerd, like Curry's going to have big-time upside because of how much he needs to do. And if you look through the points that he scored opening night as being like a chalkier player, there's so much room for growth because he shot it poorly. I watched that whole game. There could have easily been 5 to 6 more assists if somebody could make an open shot, and he didn't play in the fourth quarter. And as far as my Bucks are concerned, like I know we're a good team defense, and if you see the stats from last year, maybe the best in the league, and they have good individual defenders. However, it's not translating to covering up the 3-point line very well.
And it's also Steph Curry, right? Like maybe the greatest shooter of all time.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean the greatest shooter of all time.
There we go.
First ballot Hall of Famer, one of the best players in the league. And you're right. That's what gets me excited about him. In a blowout, a game they got straight trounced. They just got danced all over. He still put up 45 DK points, like you mentioned, despite not shooting well, despite his teammates not making anything. There's so much room for growth here. There's opportunity for this game to get out of hand, no doubt about it. That's why it's riskier to spend 10K plus on Curry. There's plenty of other studs on this slate who are favored that are going to play their full run, because you're just much more confident in that game being close. Well, in tournaments, I'm trying to get to the top of the mountain. And if this game is close, Curry's going to go off. I struggle to see a scenario where this game is close in the fourth quarter where Curry is not crushing here. I know that you feel this, similarly. It's possible, but I struggle to see it personally.
The point that we brought up on the members only video, and we think it's really important for newer NBA DFS people to understand, there are games like, I know we both kind of like some guys from the Denver Clippers game, but that game could be close and be 98 to 97. if this game is close, because we don't see a way that Golden State stops Milwaukee, it's because three-point shots are falling, and it's more likely 120 to 119 or 125 to 122 than it is being 89 to 90. We just struggle to see that. There could be one of these teams might just suck, specifically probably the Warriors, but this game's competitive. It's probably because it's high scoring.
Yeah, exactly. Because like you mentioned, Milwaukee will score on Golden State. Will Golden State score on Milwaukee? That's consistently. It's definitely more of a risk. And that's why, we talked about it. Giannis is obviously an all formats type guy. Steph is a GPP guy, and that's why I'm bringing him up as my GPP guy.
Sure. And to be honest, guys, if you believe in the Warriors to play better in this game, I don't hate him in cash games either. I think he's a good play.
Steph Curry.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's a good play. All right. Next up, another point guard. This is the guy from Boston that we kind of alluded to is a mutual favorite play of the day. And let's just call it like this. This is a cap space guy right here. Again, no Kemba Walker, which means Jeff Teague comes off the bench. He played 25 minutes in game one and scored 36.75 DK points, which is smashing off of a 4,200 salary. Now, the downside right here, guys, like Jeff Teague is not a great three-point shooter. He's not terrible, but he's not great. He's not going to go 4 for 4 from beyond the arc every game. But even if he missed all 4 of those three-pointers, he still had 23 DK points, which is a solid performance and something that you wouldn't love off of 4,200, but he wouldn't be the reason that you didn't, finish in the money, especially in cash games. It's not ideal for GPP, but this is him missing every shot that he made the other day. He's got a solid role on this team. We just think he's one of the safer places to go for cap space.
Listen, it's hard to find value on this slate because there's a ton of guys that you want to spend up on. So every roster spot that you use on a non-stud is, disheartening because there's so many good players on this slate. But you need them because DK and, DFS in particular is all about price and value. And this guy at 4,200 just looks good. You mentioned it with Kemba Walker out. He is their point guard, 25 minutes on opening night. He shot really well from 3, but as you mentioned on the members only video, let's say he doesn't make a couple of those threes. You even put it right there. He has 22.75 DK points. So, he's just a solid cog in the machine type. I don't love Jeff Teague here, but I love his 4,200 price tag and what it does to my lineup.
I agree wholeheartedly. I wish he had shooting guard eligibility, but you can wish in one hand and crap in the other and see which one fills up first.
Fair enough.
All right. So my long shot play of the day is a guy that I know we both think is a very, very talented basketball player and somebody that we think, what's the best way to put this? I was actually physically pissed off watching game 1 of Brooklyn against the Warriors because I think it was Chris Webber and somebody else were announcing. They're like, this guy could be a starter on 70% of NBA teams. I'm like, dude, you're a moron. He could start on this team and start for 100% of NBA teams. You tell me any team in the NBA, you pick out the Lakers, the Clippers, Milwaukee, any of these best teams, and Caris LeVert is a top 5 player on every team in the NBA. He could start for anyone. Now, choosing to have him come off the bench is why I think he comes in as relatively low owned on this slate because people don't want to spend $7,200 on a guy coming in off the bench. He's aggressive. He's talented. He scored 44 DK points in game 1 in 25 minutes. And there are scenarios where you can see him come into the game earlier. What if KD gets into foul trouble? What if Kyrie gets into foul trouble being too aggressive against his own team? And I'm thinking LeVert comes in very low owned in this one. I could be wrong, but early on as we break this one down, I just don't think at this price tag he's getting any love.
Nah, he's not going to get any love. I mean, I'm a huge LeVert fan. I liked him on the opening night. I still didn't use him. He went off. I'm not going to use him here because the thing about him and why I love his talent, and I actually heard what you heard on the broadcast and also was like, what the hell? Like, for me, the problem with him is you need the game to play out kind of like it did against Golden State, where, like, if it does, he could be the best player on the slate again. But you're not necessarily guaranteed that. Obviously, a much difficult matchup. I love, like, the long shot call. I mean, I think he gets under 5% ownership on this slate. And anytime you can get a guy this talented at that low ownership, I'm interested. Even though I don't think the game plays out like that. Like a guy this talented at that low ownership, I can always get on board. And as far as, Chris Webber and those guys, I can't remember exactly what they said, but I feel like they did try to backtrack on it and say, like, he would – I can't remember
it exactly. Got worse. He said 80% the first time, and then he went down to 70% of teams. I'm like, who are these 30% of teams this dude couldn't start for? Now, I get it that there is some – he's a great six man to come off the bench and, like, instant offense for your team, but he could start for anybody.
He'd be the best player on a lot of teams.
There's probably at least 5 teams he'd be the best player.
Yeah, there's on a few teams, he'd be the best player on.
He'd be the best player on Charlotte already. I think he's better than Gordon Hayward or Devontae Graham or Terry Rozier.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I mean, I like what Cleveland has going right now, but he'd be the best player on Cleveland right now.
I'd take him ahead of Zach LaVine. He'd be the best player on the Bulls.
Okay, I don't know if people would agree with that, but I don't disagree with it.
Yeah, I mean, I like this kid's game. I like it a lot.
Would you take him over De'Aaron Fox?
No, but it's not that far away from me. I'm also a big Fox fan, as are you, which makes that's a tough one.
Okay, who would you rather have, LeVert or Michael Porter Jr.?
That would be a question I would need to answer based on, like, am I starting a team? Am I adding this to a piece? Like, I don't think I would like LeVert on the Nuggets as much as I like Michael Porter, because you already have Jokic and Murray and Will Barton who can distribute the ball very well. You know, I just need straight scoring, and Michael Porter's a walking bucket. But I think LeVert's a flat-out stud. And, like, if I needed somebody to build on, I think you can build on LeVert. Not as, like, a number one, because there's only a couple guys that are true number ones, LeBron, Kawhi, blah, blah, blah. But, like, I mean, I think this kid's really, really good. And I think you get him at almost no ownership. And the other point is, I know you think Boston plays really well and shuts down Kyrie. What if Kyrie's just straight struggling? And, like, the Brooklyn's trying to win this game as they compete for the 1 seed in the East, and, like, LeVert's just a walking bucket off the bench. There are multiple game scenarios where he could have a nice game. It's just far from a sure thing.
Exactly. It's not like it only is a blowout, but there are definitely game scripts where he's not going to play a huge role, and that's why he's not going to get a love at 7,200.
Yeah, he's also in that awkward mid-tier, which we like more than normal on this slate, where people just don't roster the mid-tier guys as much.
Well, it's really hard to roster him, like, over a Jaylen Brown.
Well, I like Jaylen Brown better, and that's why he's my cash lock. But, like, LeVert's, I mean, this kid can ball.
I wonder who will get more love between, like, LeVert, Oubre, and Wiggins.
I think if DK posted the scores from the first game so all the lazy evaluators can see how well he played, that he might get more, but they don't. So I think, like, most people don't realize how good he was in game one and know he's coming off the bench and that he's now on a team with Kyrie and KD. I just don't think he gets any love. I think Oubre and Wiggins both get a little more.
I think they're all, like, under 10% perhaps, but LeVert might be under 5%.
Yeah, we could be wrong. Ownership is hard to gauge the first couple days, but, you know, that's our theory.
I mean, LeVert is coming in so, like, on projections, he's coming in, like, under 1% owned.
Yeah, and I was looking at some of the guys under 1% owned yesterday, and some of them came in like 3, 5, 7, 8.
Sure.
You know what? Like, that's a small number, no matter what way you try to say it.
Especially on one of these small slates.
All right, so speaking of long shots of the day, a guy you just brought up that's your long shot of the day, he's also in that mid-tier, which just tends, you know, people want to stars and scrubs it so bad on NBA. And that's why I love the NBA playoffs, because people roll into the playoffs not aware of the fact that your builds need to be different. They continue to pound out the stars and scrubs. The problem is in the playoffs, the scrubs are terrible. So there's so much opportunity cost by forcing in these studs. Well, tomorrow's slate is kind of a lot like that.
It's not kind of. It is like that. It is like a playoff slate. There are not many scrubs, and a big reason why it's because it's all playoff teams, right? Like, all these teams are playoff teams except maybe New Orleans, but they have playoff talent, you know.
Third game of the year too, like third day, so there's not as many injuries, and it's national TV everywhere. So, like, if you can go, you're going.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, and you're just going to see the mid tier not get as much love. And for some of the guys, it makes sense. But for a guy like Porter, man, I love him. You know, we talked about how LeVert has big time upside. Well, Porter has that same type of upside. He got into big foul trouble last night, 3 fouls basically immediately, still crushed when he was out there, went off in the second half. OT helped him. But again, just like I asked, you know, you guys heard when I asked him who you would rather have, LeVert or Porter. Both these guys are really, really talented. I think that it's interesting, you know, debating Porter and LeVert, because I think that Porter is, like, more of a sure thing right now because, you know, LeVert's coming off the bench to KD and Kyrie. But there is something to be said for playing the second unit, which LeVert has. I just feel better about Porter's minutes here. And I think that now that we're a couple years in, you know, people have always been scared about him. What's Mike Malone going to do? I think you see this year Porter play 30-plus minutes a game.
We also broke down on members only that the Nuggets rotation Like now
Yep.
that Mason Plumlee is gone and Jeremy Grant's gone, they're a lot more shallow than they have been in years
Also,
past.
JaMychal Green was out last night, and I doubt he plays tomorrow.
I think I haven't looked. I think he's out again, but I don't know that for a fact. That's another really, really good point. Also, the last time y'all saw the Nuggets, and this is coming from a dude who watches way too much basketball, but like knowing that everybody was watching the playoffs for the most part, what you saw was a lot of Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray two-man basketball. And in close, like tight competitive games, they might revert back to that sometimes. But in the regular season, Jamal Murray is not an 8K player. There's a reason this guy was 5 to 6K like for the majority last year, just over 6. Is because he's a lot more passive in the regular season. He allows Will Barton to do his thing. Well, Michael Porter's going to fall into that role as well. But I'm not sure everybody's completely aware of that. And the other point that we brought up is that he's going to be lower owned because it's the last game. People want to watch their guys. Like they're excited. Christmas Day, let's get up and watch the NBA. How can I avoid my family? Let's watch the NBA. And they want to watch guys in the earlier games. They don't want to wait till the end of the night.
No, and it's, not like, people will have a problem waiting to watch Porter. But if you roster Porter, that means you can't roster someone else that you want to watch earlier. And that will play a role in it.
Yeah, it's a small part of it, but it is part of the human element that goes into playing this, man. Like, I can tell you this much, as a DFS addict, and I'm sure you can relate to this, like, if there's a tiebreaker, and especially for you who, like, goes to bed early a lot.
Yeah.
Like you want to watch the guy in the East Coast game so you can actually watch it.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, because I'm a big DFS addict, so I don't even take that into account in my lineups. But yes, I mean, especially when I first started playing, no doubt about it.
Yeah, if you were 50-50, though, on a guy, like let's say you're just sitting there, a guy on the Knicks and a guy on the Clippers, and they're the same price, and you can't decide, but you're about to watch the Knicks play in about 15 minutes, it is so much easier to roster the guy in the East Coast game. It doesn't make my decision a lot, but if you had to coin flip it and I knew I was about to watch one game, that helps me. It's one of the reasons I played Giannis in my cash game last night. I did like Morant a little bit better, dollar for dollar, but I liked my build with Giannis. And at the end of the day, I knew I was going to watch every minute of the Bucks game.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, no doubt. It's a human element we always talk about.
For cheesy. So that's what we got for you guys for Christmas Day. Merry Christmas to everybody again. To the people who have sent over like Christmas Day, like this, hey man, I know it's been a rough year for DFS guys. Here's $30. Guys, that's awesome. Every time somebody does something like that, it makes me feel warm and fuzzy, and it's sincerely appreciated. Just gives me a lot of faith in mankind right now.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely appreciate it, and I know that, I talk about, trying to give back as much as I can. I think that's really good, but I can't think of that many, like, websites I belong to or watch videos on that I, give money like that to. So we really appreciate it.
Dude, it means a lot to us this time of the year, and it's been a rough year for a lot of people, right? And for those of you, and one of the notes that we got on that was from a customer of ours named Sarah. And she's like, hey, 2020 was actually good for my family and I. So like, we would just, take this for what it's worth, and we just appreciate what you guys do. I thought that was like so cool because like there are people that 2020 didn't mess with their income, but there are tens of millions of people throughout America, if not more, that like this messed up for them. If you work in the gig economy, for example, like it could be really, really rough. There are small businesses closing down everywhere. So I know that whatever people can do is great.
I know that I had to take my wife downtown for an appointment this morning. That's, I was busy all morning and hadn't been downtown in forever because of Corona, all that. Obviously we weren't like walking downtown. The weather's awful, but it is like a ghost town down there. Place, it was, it's winter. So it's Cleveland. It's not vibrant, but everything's closed. No one's outside. It's weird. So yeah, you just think about how much that's really affecting people.
And even though, like, I know it's been rough, like, at least with us, we don't have overhead. Like, I pay the Wix website. Oh, my God, it's $15 a month. Like, it's no big deal. But for people who, like, own property and own businesses that haven't been able to, like, have any kind of an income, it's just an unfortunate situation. So I know I love all the jokes about, hey, I eat takeout food every day because I'm supporting small businesses, and those crack me up. But, like, if you have the ability to support small businesses, that's fantastic if you go out and do it.
For sure. And hopefully, no guarantees on this, but we might have a football showdown video coming out before tomorrow. So we'll see.
Okay. All right, guys. Good luck tomorrow, and enjoy your holiday.
Thanks, guys.